So the end of volume report for volume 8 is here, and it's quite interesting. What's up guys, Mad J Man here and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be looking at the end of volume report for volume 8 because there's some interesting things in it that I want to talk about. Firstly, let's take a look at the infographic. Now there's nothing really that stands out to me about the infographic. You know, Hot Pursuit ST being the most played. People love driving fast, and they even said that in the article, so I'm not surprised that's the most played. I am surprised that Class A tier is the second most played, because for me personally I think A plus is better, and obviously again people like driving fast, so for me A plus should be second, but it's not that far behind A. In regards to the cars that are used, you know, they don't really surprise me much either. The R8 is one of the best cars in the game, so obviously it's going to be the most used. The M5 is one of the loaner cars in I think S class, so again not surprising. The R34 is actually kind of surprising for me as a racer vehicle. You know, I've played the Hot Pursuit mode a lot and I don't see the R34 that much. So that was kind of a surprising selection. For the most used cop cars, it doesn't surprise me either. The Crown Victoria being the first car that everyone gets, you know. I'm not surprised that's the most selected car. And then the Porsche and the Range Rover at second and third respectively. I mean, look, they're the cars that you unlock at the earliest stages, so of course they're going to be the most selected. I imagine not a lot of people are extremely far into the cop career to the point where they've got all the Skylines and Corvettes and Porsches, so these selections don't really surprise me either. One thing on this infographic that did surprise me was someone completing the cop career in just over 12 hours. Bro, some of you guys need to go outside and touch some grass. 12 hours, 6 minutes and 42 seconds is crazy work. Alright then, so let's get into the end of volume report. Now I'm not going to read out the whole report, I'm just going to read out what I found interesting, but if you do want to read out the whole report, I will leave a link to it down in the description. Alright, so first we have a disclaimer saying the majority of the feedback won't be addressed during this year of live service. I'm not going to read it all, but what this tells me is that either there could be a third year of content updates and live service, or they're going to make small updates here and there throughout the next year to give us the features and the fixes that we've been crying out for. And I say fixes because there are several issues on all platforms that are not only affecting the performance of the game, but some people are unable to play the game at all. So hopefully these get fixed sooner rather than later. So, onto the feedback for the Hot Pursuit game mode. Someone on Twitter said bring back the repair kits from Need for Speed Heat where you can choose when to use them, and I couldn't agree more. I'm not really sure what made them change that feature in the first place, especially with how they are now. The critical damage takes way too long to go away, and it just gives the cops more time to destroy you and bust you, and it just makes the repair kits useless. So someone on Instagram said we need more space for liveries of cars, and I absolutely agree. This is one of the things that stopped me from playing Need for Speed Unbound for some time. It is crazy to me that in a Need for Speed game there's a technical limit on how many cars we can own and how many wraps we can make. The fact I had to sell some of my cars just to be able to play and I still can't load into a free roam lobby is insane to me. Mind you, this was after buying the Ultimate Collection, but that's besides the point. I should not have had to sell any of my cars or delete any of my wraps just so I could load into the game. That shouldn't have had to happen. Moving on to the next section, the devs acknowledge that the community wants a restriction on resets as racers tend to go out of bounds to evade cops, and I can definitely agree on that one. I hate when racers do that. It's such a cheesy way to escape from the cops, and to be honest, I'm not sure what they could do to fix that, but I do hope they find a way. Now, in regards to the gas station and repair limits, I think they're fine the way they are, because whilst I do agree that some tracks do have too many gas stations, there's not too much they can do about that, because as they said, they designed the map before they even introduced Hot Pursuit, so there's not really much they can do about that. Limiting the repairs to once per race would be a great way to balance things out though, because I think it would mean that racers have to be more strategic with when they choose to use the gas stations. Something I found really interesting in this first bit of feedback was the devs' response to players wanting to use cop cars in free roam. They say that they hear that players would like to drive them in free roam, but basically they're not able to do it in Unbound, saying they don't want people to be targeted, which what I assume they mean by that is they don't want people to be griefed, which is fair enough. Now, I'm no game developer, so feel free to school me in the comments, but if they're worried about griefing, would it really have been that hard to just have the cars available to use in free roam without the pursuit tech? I mean, it seems like all they would have to do is copy and paste the cars into all my rides, but make it so that you can't equip pursuit tech on them. It seems simple, but again, I'm not a game developer, that's just my opinion. And the last bit of feedback that I want to discuss is the feedback on new rides. Now, someone said on Instagram asking for separate S Plus playlists where the Evija and the Regera get blacklisted, so basically no one can pick them, as it eliminates competitiveness whenever someone picks the Evija because everyone else follows suit. Now this I do agree with, maybe not so much separate playlists, but make it so that whoever starts up the playlist can choose whether to blacklist the Regera and the Evija or not. Now I don't race in S Plus much, but the Evija and the Regera are so far beyond anything else in the game that it does just make for boring races when everyone picks one of those two cars. Like the hierarchy in S Plus is Evija, gap, Regera, huge gap, and then everything else. In regards to the 959, I haven't driven it yet, but I've raced against it a lot in both A Plus and S, and that thing is a beast. It's super quick, and most of the time I race against it, it's far ahead of the pack. So for them to say it's pretty competitive is an understatement. I do love how it looks though, and its customization is amazing too, so they cooked on that one for sure. Now, reading the dev response, I think it's pretty clear they knew how insane and overpowered the Evija was going to be. I mean, the community was asking for something to compete with the Regera and they got it. But it doesn't just compete with the Regera, it completely demolishes it. Touching on the last point, they say they want to overcome the issue of meta in general, which they already have designs and solutions for, but not for Need for Speed Unbound is essentially what they're saying. So, this meta is here to stay, and whether they're going to nerf or buff certain cars in future updates, we'll have to wait and see. They end off the report with some appreciation for the feedback they've received from the community, clothing the book on Volume 8. They go on to say it's time to look ahead to our biggest update of the year, and it's one you won't want to miss. They did also drop the premiere for the reveal of Volume 9, which drops on the Need for Speed YouTube channel tomorrow at 4 PM UK time, so mark your calendars if you haven't already. Now, for them to say biggest update of the year is quite a statement, because Volume 7 and Volume 8 were amazing updates, so it's fair to say I'm looking forward to this one as much as they are. So that was the end of Volume Report. Some interesting responses from the devs for sure, and some thoughts to ponder as well. Of course, I'll leave a link to the full report down in the description if you do want to have a read of it for yourself. So, Volume 9 then. Excited? I know I am. Let me know in the comments what you're most looking forward to seeing in Volume 9. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.